You guys have been asking me for this video and I've been meaning to do it, so today I'm going to create it for you. And what it is I'm just showing you how to do a face frame on a deep part. So I'm doing it on a mannequin head, which isn't my favorite thing to do, but it's just difficult to get the right people sometimes. So today we're going to use, what should I call her? Tina. She's got a really good side part, so a really nice deep part, which is perfect. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you my placement, and then I'm actually going to wash it out and keep it raw, so not do any toning, and that way we can hopefully see a really good visual of the foil placement and what it all looks like. So that's what I'm going to share with you today. But also wanted to let you know that we have got some really good content coming up over the next few weeks. So keep watching, and thanks for your encouraging messages. It's really nice, and it's really helpful for me to read those. So thank you so much, and I'll get started. I'm going to just go ahead and get rid of this back section of hair because today I'm just really focused on showing you that face frame placement. So obviously, you know, if you were also balayaging, you know my balayage technique or your balayage technique. So that's what you do at the back. And I just want to show you, how I section this. So it is tricky, it's really tricky because how do you balance the front when everything is focused around the front, but the front isn't balanced? So when you have a deep side part, the front of your hair is not balanced at all. So it's very heavy on that side compared to this side. And what you need to think about is how, let me just spin Tina a little bit. What you need to think about is how this side is more exposed than this side. So this hairline is much more exposed than this one because, as you can see what it's doing right now, when the hair is sitting in natural fall, it falls forward and it falls quite heavy. And what happens is this hair at the back actually falls a lot more heavy over the front, whoops, in comparison to this side. And that's what you've got to kind of take into account when you're putting your placement in. Let me get my comb. So what I always think is, what you need to think is your point, because when I'm doing a face frame, I always have a pivot point. So wherever your pivot point is, it stays exactly the same. But what it will mean is, if this is my point where I want to pivot and I want to foil back to here on this side, it means that I match that up on this side because that's what I want. I want that to be matched. Giant trucks just pulled over at the front, which is great. Hold that thought. Okay, so what you want to think, okay, this is my pivot point, right? And I want these two angles to be matching on each side, which means that for me to foil back to this point on this side is going to be about 3 or 4 foils. For me to foil back and pivot back to the exact same position on this side is going to probably be double that. So you should pretty much be doing double on your heavy side than your other side. Does that make sense? I hope so. Put your questions in the comments below, and I would love to hear if you try this technique and it works. Please send it to me on my Instagram, and yeah, cool. I've got another tip for you. And I always use this actually on any foil, anytime I'm foiling, if someone has a deep part. You should always start your foiling on the heavier side. And the reason for that is generally, obviously, there's more hair. And I actually often find that I get some kind of just more thick, like denser spots through the side part that are a little bit harder to come down. So you just want that to be in a little bit longer than your side that's probably a little bit more fragile and obviously a lot less hair. So keep that in mind. Always start on your heavy side first, okay? So the way I part is pretty much the temple back. So I do my 4 parts. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Same on a heavy fringe, deep fringe. So I've just parted that there pretty much from the temple is where I will go. So that's one section there. Okay, this is my section that I'm going to start on. So that's the section there, and then the other side will be the same. So temple, so obviously this is going to be a much more narrow section. Well, this is not really that neat, is it? Okay, so what I'm doing here, I'm just going to try and talk through as I'm doing it. This is my face framing placement, so I always start with the hairline and then I'm pivoting up and around. And what I'm thinking about when I'm doing that is like, how close do I want the foils to be, because I want quite a bold impact at the front, so really I want to bunch them together quite tight. So that's why these foils are quite fine, quite tight together. And the way that I like to do it is, like I said, I just come and pivot around and meet on that point. And that actually gives me a very flawless face frame. A little bit different to how other people do it. I think there's so many different ways to do this. I've just found, after so much practicing, that this is the most I guess flattering way, I would say, to do it for most people's hair, because not everybody has the perfect situation for a face frame. So this is kind of how I've adapted it to work for everybody. Just thought I'd share that. And as you see, I am painting my colour right to the roots. I've talked to you about that before in a few of my other videos. And the reason I'm doing that is because this is going to sit, this hair is lower, and so we want that to be up higher. I don't know, you guys can tell me if I make sense or not. Some things are really hard to explain. You kind of just, you know why you do them. It's hard to tell somebody why, or show somebody. You will see the result at the end anyway. And obviously, like I said before, this side should have double the amount of foil work that the other side has. Obviously, this has so much more hair. Obviously this is my first section of my face frame. You can see I'm hugging the hairline, and then I just do like a nice fan that kind of pivots slowly around and comes and meets on the next part. So you can see it there. Ooh, can you see? And I will also be tipping this out, but usually what I'll do is this section, tip that half out and then that half's done, and then I'll move on to the next half. So I'll go ahead and foil this section and show you that. This is probably where it's the most different. I think the two sides are really similar, and it's up the top where the deep part kind of makes a little bit of difference with the placement. So I've showed you before, I don't fold any of my foils, but I do just kind of lock them in after. So I'll just kind of lock it and pull it back off the face a little bit. Like I was saying before, we want to have, you know, our pivot point is here, obviously, because that's what makes it nice and subtle. You don't want to go back too far. Sometimes you do, like I said before, there's so many different ways, but we want this to be soft on the hairline. So I've got my pivot point here, which means that I start there and I pivot around like that. So, I don't know, I think I just have to show. So this is where it gets tricky, because her hair is dipping down like that, right? So what I want to do is treat that little section. I want to come right from my pivot point. Let's just section that out, okay? So what I do here, right, because this is what makes it funny, because how do you put a foil in that's, you know, on the right angle when you've got this big dip here? So what I do is I section that bit out from my pivot point, and what I will do with these foils is I will put them in wherever they need to be to follow the hairline until I can get myself to a nice clean line where I can put a single foil in. Okay, so whatever the hairline does, that's what you need to follow, and then you want to try and balance that out and get it to a point where you've got a nice clean straight foil. So, and if you think about like what I was saying before, this hair sits so heavy down, so you might feel like you're putting so many close together foils in here and not on this side, but that side is all going to be covered by the hair that's falling on top of it. So if you don't put enough there, it will just be completely hidden. So you've got to think, this side's got to be so much more bold than the other side for you to even have a chance of you being able to see any face frame on this side at all with hair in natural fall. This is really good actually. So what I want to show you before I move on is, let's get Tina off the stand. So can you see I've almost treated that little section there as its own little part. So that bit there that I've now created, where I followed the hairline and then balanced it back out to be in the right pattern for me to now continue on. If you can see, now this is what needs to be extra compared to this side. So now these sides are almost equal now. And so now I will just follow on with my normal balayage face framing placement, and the same on this side. And then by putting this section in here, I've created enough strength in my face frame so that when this all falls forward, it's still got that good pop underneath. So I hope that kind of makes sense. So I guess in a way, for a deep part, this is the extra section that you need to add. Can you see now that that's kind of balanced out with this side? Yes? No? I don't know. Okay? I just want to tell you this, because one of my team members asked me, well, because this section's so small, should I just do it all as one section? So basically she was saying just take it, you know, the whole bit, all on that angle and just kind of pivot around like that rather than taking the two sections. And I said, no, and you definitely don't want to do that. You still want to do it in two sections, even though this feels like a very small section, it still is the better way to do it, because if you try and do this as one section and start like that, actually it's not on the right angle, and you can't hug the hairline as well as you need to, and you can't put as many foils in as you need to. So what I need to do here to try and balance out the fact that there's so much hair on this side is get some really, really tight foils through this section so that I get a really nice pop here, but I don't go too far back. So almost here I want to do them a little bit tighter for these first few. And then where it makes a difference is the tipping out. So on the tipping out on this side, I didn't go as far back with the top hair that sits over. But on this side, I'm going to tip out all of the hair on the top. And the reason I'm doing that is because when that hair comes down and meets at the front, it will kind of balance out the fact that there's so much hair on one side. So you'll see that after. Just thought I'd try and explain the best that I can. The best thing to do is just to watch, and you'll see a visual at the end. so lots of foils. I think this gives a really good visual of how much work it takes to create things that look super like soft and flawless and effortless. So many foils in here, but what I said it before, I just want to say it again, where you can kind of balance this out is actually with your tipping out. So I did more foils to the roots on this side and less tipping out, and less foils to the root on this side but more tipping out, because we kind of want to give that illusion with the hair that's sitting over the top to kind of make it look bolder on this side where there's less hair. So I don't know, I've really tried to explain this as well as I can. I think when you see the result, you'll kind of piece it all together a little bit better. But I think important points are that to find your pivot point and to make sure you stick with that on each side. So you don't want to go back into the hair because then you end up with a chunk there. So stick with your pivot point, and like I just said, heavier tip out on your lighter side, and always start your foils on your heavy side as well. What else can I think of? Yeah, I think that's it. Alright, well hopefully this is helpful. We'll show you the result after this. Like I said, I'm going to not do any toning, so I'm just going to show you a nice raw visual of what it looks like, so you can hopefully see all the placement and everything. And yeah, oh my god, guys, I'm crying because this was so stressful. This was really stressful. So if somebody wants to give me a hot tip about where I can buy, what brand of mannequin head I can buy that actually reacts like normal hair, that would be awesome, because this was nuts. But also I just should have thought more thoroughly about the level of her hair, because she was already so light. So I just thought I put the powder lightener in there, I won't tone it, and it would, you know, sand out and pop and it would all be fine. That didn't happen. What happened is her hair only lightened to, you know, the level you can see now, which is like half a shade from what it was before. So I don't want to lie to you guys, I want to tell you the truth, but I still wanted to show you because I still think you will learn a lot from this video. So we're going to use it and share it anyway. I just want you to know I did have to just give her a little depth in the back so that you could actually see what I had created in my foil work. But what I did with the toning is I followed the exact pattern of where I placed my foils so that you can really see that. So please try, I don't know why am I holding a brush? Please give this technique a try because it will work really well for you. And I just want to talk through a couple of things. So firstly, when you have a deep part, I don't know if you notice when people are styling their, stylists are styling hair for videos, often they're kind of like pulling it all out and, you know, trying to expose that color underneath, which is great, it looks awesome. But I always like to try and get it to be strong and natural full. So I just wanted to show you, and then I'm going to dress it out so it looks wicked, but I just wanted to show you how with her hair brushed flat down, because mostly people are going to wear it like that, right? They're not going to have it all, you know, teased up and puffing out to the side. So in natural full, you can see that that placement gives her the pop in the front. And you can see that it's even on each side. So I hope, can you see that, Leash? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you can see that this completely looks totally balanced. And I hope that you can see how, yeah, I don't know, a good visual of what that placement does and how you can, yeah, work really well with a deep side part and still get a beautiful balanced face frame. So this is it, this is the result. And yeah, I was just showing you how, see how her hair's sitting really flat. It's not being teased back to expose it all, sitting flat, and we're still getting a nice pop. So I always think when I get that right, I'm really happy with myself. I think, yeah, that's really good work. And then I'll go and, like, you know, dress it up for a nice photo. So yeah, I don't know. I guess, yeah, I just thought of saying, I guess this also gives you a good example of how, what I was talking about is how the hair's super heavy here and it hangs over. So even though I did double the amount of lightening on this side than I did on this side, because you can see here, all this hair is sitting forward and it's sitting over the lightening. So that's why you can go so much heavier and it will be balanced. So I think you can just see that really well here. So yeah.